Listen carefully, because this moment is not ordinary. Something about this exact second, this pause, this stillness, this unexpected pull you felt to stay, was orchestrated long before you even realized it. You didn't just stumble upon this message. You were guided to it. And deep down you already feel it, don't you? There's been something shifting in your life lately. Subtle but undeniable. Conversations feel different. Certain people feel off. Even your own thoughts have started to change, as if something inside you is waking up, something that refuses to ignore what once felt normal. You've tried to brush it off. You've told yourself, maybe I'm overthinking. But what if you're not? What if this uneasiness, this awareness, this quiet alertness rising inside you's not anxiety, but activation? Because right now, heaven is interrupting your routine. Yes, you were in the middle of your day. Maybe scrolling. Maybe distracted. Maybe just trying to pass time. But something stopped you. Something told you to stay, to listen, to pay attention. And that something is not random. It is divine. Archangel Michael does not step forward without purpose. His presence signals that something is unfolding beyond what your eyes can see. And when he speaks, it is not to entertain. It is to prepare. Because there are moments in life when everything looks normal on the surface, but underneath, a shift has already begun. And this is one of those moments. You may not have all the answers yet. You may not even know what exactly feels off. But your spirit knows. Your spirit has been trying to get your attention through small signs, through discomfort, through intuition, through those moments where something just didn't sit right in your soul. Have you noticed it? The way certain energy around you has changed. The way some people respond to you now differently than before. The way your growth has created distance you never expected. That is not coincidence. That is confirmation. Because when your life begins to elevate, when your mindset begins to shift, when your future starts to unfold in ways that even you didn't fully plan, there is always a reaction. Not just in your environment, but in the people connected to you. And right now, something is reacting. This is why this message found you now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but right now. Because timing in the spiritual realm is precise. There are windows where awareness must come before events unfold. There are moments where you are warned not to scare you but to position you. You are being positioned. Positioned to see what you once ignored. Positioned to feel what you once dismissed. Positioned to recognize what had been hidden in plain sight. And here is the truth you need to hear at the very beginning. This is not fear speaking to you. This is clarity calling you. Archangel Michael is not here to create panic. He is here to sharpen your discernment. Because something is approaching your life, not necessarily as a loud storm, but as a quiet shift that requires your awareness. And if you ignore this moment, you may miss the signs. But if you stay, if you listen, if you allow your spirit to fully receive what is being revealed, you will begin to see everything differently. This is your wake-up call. This is your moment of alignment. This is the divine interruption that separates those who remain unaware from those who rise in understanding. And you were chosen to understand. So do not rush past this. Do not silence this feeling. Do not go back to sleep spiritually when heaven is clearly trying to wake you. Because what comes next will require you to be alert. Type "I am aware" in the comments if you feel this message stirring your spirit. Blessing code 1717 is now activated around you. There is something you need to understand, and you must understand it now. Your life has entered a phase where not everyone around you is simply present. Some are observing. Some are measuring. Some are quietly reacting to the very thing you've been building in silence. And the truth is, you've already felt it, you just didn't fully name it. Because lately, there has been a strange awareness following you. Not loud, not obvious, but subtle. The kind of feeling where you walk into a room and something shifts. Conversations pause for a second too long. Eyes linger just a moment more than they should. Energy changes, but no one says anything. And you tell yourself, it's nothing. But what if it isn't nothing? What if someone has been watching your rise more closely than you realize? You see, growth doesn't happen in isolation. When you evolve, when your mindset sharpens, when your direction becomes clearer, people notice. Even the ones who say nothing. Even the ones who pretend not to see. And not everyone who notices celebrates. Some study. Some compare. Some quietly question why your life is moving forward while theirs feels stuck. And this is where it begins. Not with confrontation. Not with open conflict. But with observation. Someone has been watching how you move. Watching how you speak. Watching how you've changed. They've noticed the way you no longer react the same. The way you become more focused. More distant from certain patterns. More aligned with something greater than what you used to accept. And instead of asking how you did it, they've chosen to watch you from a distance. Silently. Carefully. Calculating. This is not about paranoia. This is about perception. Because there is a difference between being surrounded by people and being seen by people. And right now, someone is seeing you, but not with pure intention. They are trying to understand your momentum. Trying to figure out what is shifting in your life. Trying to decode the energy around you that they cannot access themselves. And the more they watch, the more something inside them begins to react. Because your growth is revealing something they are not ready to face within themselves. Have you noticed how certain people ask questions that feel slightly off? Not directly negative, but not genuinely supportive either. Questions that sound like curiosity, but carry an undertone you can't quite explain. With the way some people respond to your progress, not with excitement, but with subtle silence, as if they are processing something deeper than what they show. That is not random. That is observation turning into comparison. And comparison, if left unchecked, begins to shift into something heavier, something quieter, something far more dangerous than open dislike. Because open dislike is visible. It can be confronted. It can be understood. But silent observation mixed with internal comparison, that's where hidden intentions begin to form. And Archangel Michael is revealing this to you now for a reason. Because what is hidden must be recognized before it manifests into action. This is not about accusing anyone. This is about becoming aware of the environment around your life. Because when someone watches you long enough without celebrating you, something begins to change within them. Your progress becomes a mirror. Your discipline becomes a reminder. Your elevation becomes a question they cannot answer. And not everyone handles that well. Some people are inspired, but others become unsettled. And when someone becomes unsettled by your growth, they don't always show it directly. They watch. They wait. They analyze. They observe your patterns, your routines, your decisions. They pay attention to your timing. They notice when you succeed, when you slow down, when you hesitate. Not to support you, but to understand how your rise is happening. Because there is something about your future that is becoming visible, even before it fully arrives. There is a shift around you that others can sense, even if they cannot explain it. And that shift is drawing attention. not all of it good. This is why you must stay alert, not fearful, not paranoid, but aware. Because the moment you begin to rise beyond what people expected of you, you step into a different kind of visibility. A visibility that doesn't always come with applause. A visibility that invites silent watchers, people who are present, but not aligned. And the danger is not in being seen. The danger is in not recognizing who is watching and why. Archangel Michael is not revealing this to isolate you. He is revealing this to sharpen you, to help you understand that your environment has changed because you have changed. And not everyone who has access to you deserves the same level of closeness they once had. You are entering a season where discernment matters more than comfort, where awareness matters more than assumption, where spiritual sensitivity becomes your greatest protection. So pay attention, not to every word people say but to what they don't say, not to every action but to the intention behind it, because someone is watching your rise, and what they do next depends on what they believe about your future. Type ISE clearly in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2626 is now surrounding you. Now listen closely, because what is being revealed in this moment requires a deeper level of understanding. Not everything that looks supportive is pure. Not everything that feels familiar is safe. And not everyone who stands near you is standing with you. There is a force that does not always show itself openly. It does not announce its presence. It does not walk in with confrontation. Instead, it hides. It adapts. It disguises itself in ways that make it difficult to detect unless your spirit is fully awake. And that force is envy. Envy does not always look like hatred. It rarely introduces itself as opposition. In fact, most of the time, it comes wrapped in kindness, dressed in compliments, and hidden behind smiles that seem genuine on the surface. That is why it is so dangerous. Because you are not being asked to guard yourself from obvious enemies. You are being called to discern subtle energy shifts within people you already trust. You may have experienced this without fully realizing it. Moments where someone congratulates you, but something in their tone feels slightly off. Moments where they listen to your plans, but their response lacks the warmth you expected. Moments where they smile, but their eyes do not reflect the same emotion. These are not things your mind always picks up immediately, but your spirit does. Your spirit recognizes inconsistencies long before your logic tries to explain them away. Envy studies before it speaks. It observes before it reacts. It gathers information quietly, not to celebrate you, but to understand you. It listens to your ideas, your goals, your next steps, not because it wants to support them, but because it wants to measure itself against them. And the moment comparison begins, something shifts internally. Your progress becomes a trigger. Your success becomes a mirror. Your discipline becomes a silent pressure that forces them to confront what they have not done. And not everyone responds to that pressure with growth. Some respond with resistance. But here is where you must be careful, because that resistance does not always appear as rejection. Instead, it disguises itself as subtle behavior changes, delayed responses, less enthusiasm, quiet distance, a shift in how they engage with you. Nothing obvious enough different but enough defiant. This is the language of hidden envy. It does not attack you directly. It slowly withdraws its energy. It begins to create an invisible separation. And while you are trying to understand what changed, they are trying to process why your life is moving in a direction they cannot control or replicate. You see, envy is not just about wanting what you have. It is about struggling to accept that you are becoming something they are not. and that realization creates tension within them. A tension they may not even fully understand themselves, but it manifests in how they treat you. Archangel Michael is revealing this to you now because you are entering a level where not everyone can follow. Your growth is creating distance, not because you are pushing people away, but because your path is changing. And when your path changes, the people around you must either align with that growth or react to it. And some are reacting. But instead of stepping away honestly, they remain close physically while shifting internally. They continue conversations. They maintain appearances. They stay within your circle. But something inside them is no longer in alignment with your elevation. And this is where discernment becomes critical. Because hidden envy does not always wish you harm in obvious ways. It simply cannot celebrate your rise fully. It cannot support your progress without internal conflict. And over time, that conflict begins to influence behavior, decisions, and even subtle intentions toward you. You may notice that certain people no longer encourage you the same way, or that they avoid conversations about your growth, or that they redirect topics when you begin to speak about your future. These are not random patterns. These are indicators of internal discomfort manifesting externally. And here is the truth you must accept. This has nothing to do with your worth. It has everything to do with your trajectory. Because you are moving into something greater, something more aligned, something more purposeful. And not everyone has the capacity to witness that without comparison interfering. So what do? You do not confront prematurely. You do not accuse without clarity. You do not react emotionally. Instead, you observe. You stay grounded. You allow patterns to reveal themselves fully. Because truth does not need to be forced. It reveals itself over time. Archangel Michael is not asking you to fear people. He's asking you to understand energy. To recognize that not every smile carries the same intention. To see beyond words and into patterns. To trust what your spirit hath been quietly showing you all along. Because once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. And once you understand it, you will move differently. Type "I discern truth" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3737 is now activated around you. And as this truth settles into your spirit, understand this. Every revelation you receive is not just for you, but for countless others still walking in confusion. When you choose to support this mission through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are not giving to a voice. You are sowing into a harvest of awakened souls. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days," and today, that promise is speaking directly to you. I feel it strongly. This is your moment to act, to align, to participate in something greater than yourself. Your seed becomes light in someone else's darkness, clarity in someone else's confusion, and strength in someone else's battle. Do not delay what heaven is prompting you to do now. Release your support as an act of obedience and watch how divine provision begins to flow back into your life in unexpected ways. Something has changed, and you know it. Not in a loud, dramatic way. Not in a way you can easily explain to someone else. But deep within you, there is an awareness that the atmosphere around your life is no longer what it used to be. The same spaces feel different. The same people feel unfamiliar. Even moments that should feel comfortable now carry a subtle tension you cannot ignore. And the question you've been quietly asking yourself is this: why does everything feel off even when nothing seems wrong? This is not confusion. This is perception. Because when a spiritual shift begins, it does not always announce itself with clarity. It begins with feeling, a sensitivity, a quiet disruption in what once felt normal. You start noticing things you didn't notice before. Energy becomes louder than words. Silence becomes more revealing than conversation. And suddenly, you are aware of things you cannot fully explain, but you cannot dismiss either. Have you felt it? The way certain environments drain you faster than they used to. The way conversations feel heavier, even when they sound casual. The way you leave certain interactions feeling unsettled, even when nothing negative was said. This is the shift. This is what happens when your awareness rises but your environment has not fully caught up to who you are becoming. You are no longer operating at the same level of sensitivity you once were. You are seeing more, feeling more, understanding more. And because of that, what once blended in now stands out. Archangel Michael is revealing this to you because this shift is not random. It is necessary. You are being repositioned. And repositioning always comes with discomfort. Because you are no longer aligned with everything that once felt normal. The things that once entertained you now feel empty. The dynamics that once felt easy now feel forced. The people who once felt aligned now feel distant, even if they are physically close. And this creates a strange tension within you, because part of you wants to hold on to familiarity while another part of you knows you cannot go back. This is where many people become confused. They tried to fix the discomfort. They tried to restore what used to feel easy. They tried to convince themselves that nothing has changed. But the truth is, everything has changed. You have changed. And because you have changed, your perception of everything around you has shifted as well. This is why certain people feel different. Not necessarily because they have subtly become someone else, but because you are now seeing them more clearly than before. You are picking up on subtleties that you once overlooked. You are noticing patterns that once went unnoticed. You are feeling the difference between genuine connection and surface-level interaction. And once you begin to see this clearly, it cannot be reversed. This is why the atmosphere feels unfamiliar, because clarity disrupts comfort. Archangel Michael wants you to understand something critical. This discomfort is not meant to confuse you. It is meant to guide you. It is a signal that you are no longer aligned with everything around you in the same way you once were. And instead of resisting it, you are being called to lean into it. Because within this discomfort is direction. The moments where you feel uneasy are not random. They are revealing where your energy no longer belongs. The interactions that leave you drained are showing you where your alignment has shifted. The spaces that no longer feel right are indicating that your presence is no longer meant to remain there in the same capacity. This is not loss. This is refinement. You are being refined into a version of yourself that cannot coexist comfortably with everything from your past. And that refinement creates separation, not always physically, but energetically. You begin to pull back without fully understanding why. You begin to speak less, observe more, and protect your energy in ways you didn't before. And this is exactly what you are meant to do. Because awareness without adjustment leads to confusion. But awareness with intentional movement leads to clarity. You are not meant to stay in environments that no longer match your growth. You are not meant to maintain connections that no longer align with your direction. And you are certainly not meant to ignore what your spirit is clearly revealing to you. This shift is preparing you to move differently, to speak differently, to trust yourself more deeply. Because what is coming next in your life will require a higher level of discernment, a sharper awareness, a stronger connection to your intuition. And this current phase, this discomfort, this unfamiliar feeling, is training you for that next level. So do not resist it. Do not question it. Do not try to force things back into what they used to be. because what used to be no longer fits who you are becoming. And the sooner you accept that, the clearer everything will begin to feel. Archangel Michael is not asking you to understand everything immediately. He is asking you to trust what you feel, to honor the shift, to recognize that the change in atmosphere is not something to fear, it is something to follow. Because it is leading you somewhere more aligned, somewhere more clear, somewhere where your growth will not feel like tension, but like truth. Type "I trust the shift" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 4848 is now activated around your path. Now be still, because what comes next is not subtle. It is not layered in mystery or hidden beneath gentle interpretation. This is direct. This is urgent. And this is where everything begins to sharpen. Because Archangel Michael is no longer allowing this message to remain in observation. He is stepping forward with clarity, with authority, and with a warning that you cannot afford to ignore. There are moments when awareness is enough, and then there are moments when awareness must turn into action. You have now reached that moment, because something is forming around your life, not in chaos, not in obvious disruption, but in quiet alignment that is preparing to either test your discernment or expose your lack of it. And the difference between those two outcomes depends on whether you listen now. Archangel Michael's voice does not come with confusion. It comes with precision. And what he is revealing is this: you are being observed, you are being measured, and there are intentions around you that are not fully aligned with your elevation. This is not to create fear within you. It is to remove your blindness. You have already felt the shift. You have already noticed the changes. You have already sensed that something is not the same. But sensing is not enough if you do not respond to what you sense. And this is where the warning begins. Do not ignore what your spirit has been showing you. Do not silence your intuition just to maintain comfort. Do not explain away patterns that continue to repeat themselves in subtle ways. Because what you ignore now will grow later. Archangel Michael is making it clear. This is not the time to second-guess yourself. This is not the time to give unlimited access to everyone who had been in your life simply because they have always been there. Familiarity does not equal alignment. History does not equal trust. And proximity does not equal purity of intention. You must understand this deeply, because the next phase of your life requires a different level of awareness. And that awareness demands that you begin to see people not just for who they have been, but for how they are showing up now. This is where many fail. They hold on to old billions of people. They cling to past experiences. They rely on outdated perceptions. And in doing so, they miss what is clearly being revealed in the present. But you cannot afford to miss it. Because what is unfolding is not random interaction. It is positioning. Positioning that will either support your future or quietly interfere with it. And Archangel Michael is stepping in now because he sees what you cannot fully see yet. He sees the conversations you are not present for. He sees the thoughts that are not spoken aloud. He sees the intentions that are still forming. And he is drawing your attention to this moment so you are not caught unprepared. This is your warning. Stay alert. Not anxious. Not fearful. But alert. Pay attention to shifts in behavior. Pay attention to consistency. Pay attention to how people respond when you speak about your future, your plans, your direction. Because reactions reveal more than words ever will. And this is where your discernment becomes your protection. You are not being asked to isolate yourself. You are being asked to observe more carefully, to listen beyond what is said, to feel beyond what is shown, to recognize patterns without rushing to judgment, but also without ignoring what is clear. Because once something is revealed to you, you are responsible for what you do with that awareness. And ignoring it will not protect you. It will only delay what eventually becomes undeniable. Archangel Michael is not speaking to you now because something has already gone wrong. He is speaking because something is about to unfold, and you are being given the opportunity to be prepared before it does. This is the difference between reaction and readiness, between being caught off guard and standing in clarity. You are being positioned to stand in clarity. But clarity requires honesty with yourself. It requires that you acknowledge what you have been feeling. It requires that you trust what you have been sensing. And it requires that you stop minimizing what your spirit is trying to show you. Because your spirit does not lie. It does not create false alarms. It does not generate discomfort without reason. It responds to energy, to intention, to alignment, or the lack of it. And right now, it is responding. This is why this message feels direct. This is why it feels urgent. This is why it feels like something inside you is being awakened rather than comforted. Because this is not about reassurance. This is about preparation. And preparation requires clarity, not comfort. So listen carefully to this final part of the warning. Do not move the same way you used to. Do not speak the same way you used to. Do not trust the same way you used to. Because you are no longer in the same position you were before. You are elevated. And elevation changes everything. It changes how you must carry yourself. It changes how you must discern others. And it changes how you must protect your direction. This is not a moment to fear. This is a moment to sharpen. Because what comes next will reveal everything. And whether it surprises you or confirms what you already felt depends on how well you listen now. Type I stay alert in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5959 is now activated around your awareness. Now listen even more carefully, because this is where the message moves from awareness into revelation. What you have been sensing is not just emotional distance or subtle discomfort. It goes deeper than that. There is a reason behind the shift. There is a cause behind the tension. And that cause is directly connected to your future. Because what is forming around you is not random behavior. It is reaction. A reaction to something you carry. A reaction to something you are becoming. A reaction to something in your future that others can feel even if they cannot fully understand. And that is what they fear. You must understand this clearly. People do not react this way to someone who is stagnant. They do not observe, compare, or shift their energy towards someone who is standing still. Reaction only happens when movement is present, when growth is visible, when direction becomes undeniable, and your life is moving. Even if you feel like progress has been slow, even if you feel like you are still figuring things out, even if you feel like you have not fully arrived at where you want to be, there is something about your trajectory that is becoming visible. Something about your future that is beginning to take shape. And those around you can feel it. They may not say it. They may not consciously understand it. But they feel it. And that feeling is creating pressure. Because your future represents something they cannot control. It represents a level they cannot easily access. It represents a version of you that does not depend on the same dynamics, the same conversations, or the same limitations that once kept everything familiar. And that is where fear begins. Not fear of you as a person, but fear of what your growth will change. Because your future will change relationship. It will change access. It will change influence. It will change who has the ability to affect your decisions, your direction, your mindset. And not everyone is comfortable with that shift. Some people are used to a version of you that was easier to predict, easier to influence, easier to keep within certain boundaries. But that version of you is fading, and they can feel it. This is why their energy has shifted. This is why their observation has intensified, because they are trying to understand where you are going before you fully arrive there. They are trying to measure your next move, trying to anticipate your direction, trying to figure out how your future will affect their place in your life. And this is where it becomes dangerous, because when someone begins to fear your future, their actions are no longer neutral. They may not openly oppose you, but they may begin to subtly influence situations, subtly question your decisions, subtly create doubt, subtly redirect conversations, not in a way that is obvious enough to confront, but in a way that slowly attempts to shape your perception. Because if they can influence how you think, they can influence how you move. And if they can influence how you move, they can influence how far you go. This is the hidden plot. Not always intentional, not always planned with clear awareness, but still real, still present, still active. Because fear does not always operate through conscious strategy. Sometimes it operates through instinct, through subtle behavior, through reactions that even the person themselves may not fully recognize. But Archangel Michael sees it clearly. And that is why this is being revealed to you now. Because you cannot protect your future if you do not recognize what is reacting to it. You cannot move with clarity if you are unaware of the subtle influences around you. And you cannot fully step into what is meant for you if you allow others, intentionally or unintentionally, to shape your direction. This is why your awareness matters now more than ever. Because your future is not just something that will happen. It is something that must be protected. Protected from doubt. Protected from distraction. Protected from influence that does not align with where you are going. You are not being asked to distrust everyone. You are being asked to discern who is aligned with your future and who is reacting to it. Because those are two very different positions. Alignment supports. Reaction resists. And right now, both exist around you. But only one should have access to your inner world. This is why you must move differently, more intentionally, more quietly, more aware of what you share, how you share it, and who you share it with. Not from fear, not from wisdom, because not everything about your future needs to be explained to everyone in your present. Some things must be protected until they are established. Some moves must be made without announcement. Some growth must be nurtured in silence. And this is one of those moments. You are stepping into a phase where your future is forming, but it is not yet fully visible. And in this phase, protection is critical. Because what is not yet fully built can still be influenced. But what is fully established cannot be easily shaken. So protect this stage. Protect your mindset. Protect your direction. Protect your vision. Because what you are becoming is valuable. And what you are moving toward is powerful. And not everyone around you is prepared for that. Type "I protect my future" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6060 is now activated around your path. Now you must shift your understanding even deeper, because if you misinterpret what is happening around you, you will respond the wrong way. And responding the wrong way will cost you clarity, energy, and direction. What you are experiencing right now is not just about personalities. It is not just about attitudes, emotions, or misunderstandings. This is not simply about people behaving differently. This is something far more layered, far more strategic, and far more significant than that. This is spiritual warfare. And the moment you recognize that truth, everything begins to make sense. Because if you keep seeing this as personal conflict, you will take things personally. You will feel hurt, confused, even frustrated. You will try to fix relationships that are not meant to function the same way anymore. You will try to explain yourself to people who are not operating from a place of understanding. And in doing so, you will drain yourself emotionally, trying to solve something that was never meant to be handled at a surface level. But when you understand that this is spiritual, your posture changes. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop trying to force clarity from confusion. You stop seeking validation from people who cannot see what you see. And instead, you begin to observe with awareness. Because spiritual warfare does not always look like chaos. It often looks like subtle disruption. It looks like misalignment. It looks like tension without explanation. It looks like conversations that feel slightly distorted. It looks like relationships that begin to shift without clear reason. And if you are not aware, you will misread it. You will think it is about something you said, something you did, something you failed to do. But it is not about that. It is about what you carry. Because when you begin to move toward your purpose, when your mindset elevates, when your direction becomes aligned with something greater than where you started, there is always resistance. Not always visible, not always loud, but always present. And that resistance does not need strangers. It uses proximity. It uses familiarity. It uses people who already have access to you. Because access creates influence. And influence, if not discerned, can interfere with your direction. This is why the tension feels so confusing. Because it is not coming from obvious opposition. It is coming through subtle interaction. Through tone, through timing, through energy. And if you are not spiritually aware, you will try to address it as a personal issue. You will try to fix behavior instead of understanding the force behind it. But Archangel Michael is making this clear. This is not about fixing people. This is about strengthening your awareness. Because spiritual warfare is not fought through arguments. It is not fought through explanation. It is not fought through emotional reaction. It is fought through alignment, through clarity, through discipline in how you think, how you move, and how you respond. You are being called to a higher level of awareness now. A level where you do not engage in every shift you feel. A level where you do not respond to every subtle change in behavior. A level where you recognize patterns without needing immediate confrontation. Because not every battle is meant to be fought openly. Some are meant to be observed, understood, and outgrown. And this is one of those moments. You are not here to prove anything. You are not here to defend yourself. You are not here to correct every misunderstanding. You are here to stay aligned. Because alignment is what protects you. Alignment is what keeps your direction clear. Alignment is what prevents you from being pulled into unnecessary distraction. And distraction is one of the primary tools used in spiritual warfare. If your focus is broken, your direction becomes unstable. If your direction becomes unstable, your progress slows. And if your progress slows, your future is delayed. That is the strategy. Not always to stop you completely, but to slow you down just enough that you lose momentum. And that is why this awareness matters so much. Because once you see this clearly, you stop engaging the same way. You stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You stop reacting to subtle tension. You stop trying to make everyone comfortable with your growth. Because you understand that not everyone is meant to be comfortable with it. And that is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to stay aligned with where you are going. To remain focused. To protect your energy. to move with intention instead of reaction. Because the moment you start reacting to everything around you, you lose control of your own direction. And that is exactly what this warfare tries to create. Reaction. But you are not here to react. You are here to rise. And rising requires stillness. It requires discipline. It requires the ability to see what is happening without becoming consumed by it. This is your shift. From emotional reaction to spiritual awareness. From confusion to clarity. From engagement to elevation. And once you make that shift, everything changes. Because now, you are no longer operating at the same level as the tension around you. You are above it. Not in arrogance, but in awareness. And awareness is your protection. Type I see beyond the surface in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7171 is now activated around your spirit. Now this is where everything begins to turn. Not slowly, not subtly, but undeniably. Because there comes a moment in every hidden situation where what was concealed can no longer remain hidden. A moment where tension reaches its peak. A moment where truth, no matter how carefully it was covered, begins to rise to the surface. And you are approaching that moment now. This is the breaking point. You may have felt it building without fully understanding why. A sense that something is about to happen. Not necessarily something dramatic, but something revealing. Something that will shift your understanding permanently. Because when truth begins to surface, it does not always come through loud confrontation. Sometimes it arrives through small exposures, through slips in behavior, through inconsistencies that can no longer be hidden, through moments where people reveal more than they intended to. And when that happens, everything changes. Because once truth is seen clearly, you cannot return to ignorance. This is why Archangel Michael had been preparing you up to this point. And not to alarm you, but to position you. Because if this moment arrived without awareness, it would confuse you. It would overwhelm you. It might even cause you to react emotionally instead of responding with clarity. But now you are ready. You are ready to see without denial. Ready to recognize without hesitation. Ready to understand without needing everything to be explained. Because what is about to be revealed may not come with direct admission. It may not come with someone openly confessing their intentions. Instead, it will come through patterns becoming undeniable. Through behavior aligning with what your spirit has already been sensing. And when it happens, you will feel it instantly. That moment where everything clicks. Where past interactions suddenly make sense. Where confusion turns into clarity. Where doubt is replaced with certainty. That is the breaking point. And here is what you must understand. This moment is not meant to hurt you. It is meant to free you. Because as long as something remains hidden, it holds power over your perception. It keeps you questioning. It keeps you uncertain. It keeps you trying to figure things out without full clarity. But once it is revealed, that power disappears. Truth removes confusion. Truth removes doubt. Truth removes the need to keep guessing. And that is what is coming into your life now. But here is the challenge. How you respond in this moment will determine what happens next. Because when truth is exposed, there is a natural impulse to react, to confront, to question, to demand explanations, to try to resolve everything immediately. But not every revelation requires immediate action. Some require observation. Some require silence. Some require distance. Because not all truth is revealed for confrontation. Some is revealed for separation. And this is where your discernment becomes critical again. You must recognize what the revelation is asking of you. Is it asking you to engage or to step back? Is it asking you to address or to detach? Is it asking you to explain or to simply move differently? Because the answer will not always be obvious to your mind, but your spirit will know. Archangel Michael is guiding you to understand that exposure is not the end. It is the beginning of clarity. It is the moment where everything that was unclear becomes defined. And once something is defined, it can be handled properly. But only if you remain grounded. Only if you resist the urge to react emotionally. Only if you trust the process of what is being revealed. Because emotional reaction can distort clarity. It can pull you back into confusion. It can cause you to say or do things that are not aligned with your higher awareness. And that is exactly what must be avoided. This moment is not about proving that you were right. It is not about confronting people to validate your feelings. It is about seeing clearly and adjusting accordingly. Because clarity without adjustment changes nothing. But clarity followed by intentional movement changes everything. You are being given the opportunity to move differently now. You step out of uncertainty. To stop second-guessing yourself. To trust what has been revealed. And to align your actions with that truth. Because once something is exposed, you cannot pretend it is not there. You cannot go back to the same level of awareness. You cannot interact the same way without ignoring what you now know. And ignoring it will only recreate the same cycle. But you are not here to repeat cycles. You are here to break them. And this is the moment where that break begins. The moment where you stop accepting what no longer aligns. The moment where you stop explaining what is already clear. The moment where you choose clarity over comfort. Because comfort will try to pull you back into what is familiar. But clarity will push you forward into what is right. And you must choose. Archangel Michael is not forcing the choice. He's revealing it. Because once truth is seen, the decision becomes yours. To stay the same or to move forward. To ignore or to act with awareness. To hold on or to release what no longer aligns. This is your breaking point. And what you do next defines your direction. Type "I choose clarity" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8282 is now activated around your path. And as this moment of clarity settles into your spirit, understand this. Every truth that frees you is a seed meant to free someone else. When you sow into this mission through the PayPal link in the description, or the QR code on your screen, you are not supporting a message. You are releasing light into lives still trapped in confusion. The Lord declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and right now, that promise is alive in your hands. I feel this deeply. This is not a casual moment. This is a divine prompting. Your action today becomes someone else's breakthrough tomorrow. Your giving becomes a river that carries healing, direction, and awakening to souls who need it most. Do not hesitate. Move as you are being led, because what you release now will return to you multiplied in ways only heaven can orchestrate. Now this is the part where everything becomes personal, not in a way that burdens you, but in a way that reveals your significance in everything you have been experiencing. Because none of this is random. None of these shifts, these tensions, these revelations, or even these warnings have come into your life without purpose. There is a reason you are the one seeing this. There is a reason you are the one feeling this. And there is a reason you are the one being called to rise above it. You were selected. Not by chance. Not by coincidence. But by design. Because in every environment, in every circle, in every family, there is always one who becomes aware before the others. One who begins to see what others overlook. one who feels what others ignore, one who recognizes patterns that have gone unnoticed for years. And that one is you. This is why things have felt different for you, why you have questioned things others seem comfortable with, why you have sensed shifts long before they became obvious, why you have felt a pull to grow, to change, to move beyond what once felt normal. Because you were never meant to stay at the same level as everything around you. You were meant to rise above it. But understand this, being chosen does not mean being isolated without purpose. It means being positioned with responsibility. Because awareness comes with expectation. When you see more, you are expected to move differently. When you understand more, you are expected to act with greater intention. And this is where your role becomes clear. You are not here to fix everyone. You are not here to force understanding on those who are not ready. You are not here to carry the weight of other people's reactions. You are here to lead yourself into alignment, to break patterns that no longer serve your direction, to refuse cycles that have been repeated without question, to step out of environments that no longer support who you are becoming. Because your role is not to maintain what has always been. It is to become what has not yet been seen. This is what makes your position uncomfortable at times. Because when you begin to move differently, it disrupts what others are used to. When you begin to think differently, it challenges what others believe. When you begin to grow, it exposes what others have avoided. And not everyone responds to that with understanding. But that is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to remain aligned with your own awareness, to trust what has been revealed to you, to move forward even when it creates distance. Because that distance is not loss, it is direction. It is the natural result of stepping into a different level of understanding. And here is the truth that you must fully accept. You cannot fulfill your role if you keep trying to remain comfortable in places that no longer align with your growth. You cannot carry both awareness and attachment to old patterns at the same time. You cannot see clearly and still pretend that nothing has changed. Because once you are aware, you are accountable. Accountable to yourself. Accountable to your direction. Accountable to your future. And this is why you were chosen, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing to see, willing to feel, willing to question what others accept without thought. That willingness is what separates you. That willingness is what positions you. That willingness is what allows you to break cycles instead of repeating them. Because cycles continue when no one questions them, when no one challenges them, when no one steps outside of them. But you have already stepped outside. Even if you are still navigating what that looks like, even if you are still adjusting to the shift, you are no longer operating within the same patterns. And that alone changes everything. Archangel Michael is not revealing your role to pressure you. He is revealing it to strengthen you, to remind you that what you are experiencing has purpose, that the discomfort has meaning, that the awareness you carry is not something to ignore, it is something to follow. Because your role is not to go back. Your role is to move forward with clarity, to trust your perception even when others do not understand, to honor your growth even when it creates distance, to remain steady even when everything around you feels like it is shifting. Because you are not meant to be moved by every shift, you are meant to move through them. And this is where your strength lies, not in controlling what others do, but in mastering how you respond, not in fixing what is around you, but in aligning yourself with where you are meant to go. This is your role, to see clearly, to move intentionally, to rise without needing permission. And once you fully accept that, everything begins to align. Because now, you are no longer questioning why things feel different. You understand it. You are no longer confused about your place. You are stepping into it. And that changes everything. Type "I accept my role" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9393 is now activated around your path. Now you are entering one of the most critical phases of this entire journey, the part that will not be seen by others, but will define everything about how you move forward. Because once awareness has been given, once truth has been revealed, once your role has become clear, there is always a test. And this test is not about what you say. It is about what you choose not to say. It is the test of silence. It is the test of strength. And many fail here, not because they lack understanding, but because they feel the need to act immediately on what they now know. The urge to speak, to confront, to correct, to express everything that has been building inside. That urge can feel powerful, justified even. But not every truth you discover is meant to be spoken out loud in the moment you discover it. Some truths are meant to be carried quietly. Some realizations are meant to be processed internally. Some awareness is meant to change your behavior, not your volume. And this is where your strength is being tested. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is control. It is discipline. It is the ability to see everything clearly and still choose the right moment, the right action, and the right response, rather than reacting out of emotion. Archangel Michael is guiding you through this phase because he understands something you must also understand. If you react too quickly, you can disrupt the clarity you have just gained. You can create unnecessary conflict. You can reveal your awareness before you are fully positioned to act on it wisely. And that is not what this moment requires. This moment requires stillness. Not passivity, but intentional stillness. The kind of stillness that observes without engaging, that processes without reacting, that strengthens without announcing. Because when you move too quickly, you risk being pulled back into the same patterns you have just become aware of. You risk being drawn into conversations that drain your clarity. You risk being manipulated into explaining yourself before you are ready. And most importantly, you risk losing control of your own direction. This is why silence matters. Because silence gives you space. Space to think clearly. Space to observe patterns without interruption. Space to see how things unfold without your interference. And within that space, truth reveals itself even more deeply. People reveal themselves more clearly. Intentions become more obvious. And what once felt uncertain becomes undeniable. But this only happens if you allow it. If you rush to speak, you interrupt the process. If you rush to confront, you limit what could have been revealed. If you rush to explain, you give away your position before you fully understand the situation. And this is why strength is required. Because silence is not easy. Especially when you feel something strongly. Especially when you see something clearly. Especially when you know something has changed. But your strength is not measured by how quickly you respond. It is measured by how well you can hold your position. How well you can remain grounded. How well you can observe without being pulled into reaction. This is your test. To remain steady when everything inside you wants to move. To remain quiet when everything inside you wants to speak. To remain clear when everything around you feels uncertain. Because this phase is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about strengthening your internal clarity. It is about allowing your awareness to fully settle. It is about positioning yourself for the next move, not reacting to the current moment. And here is something you must remember. People often reveal the most when they believe you do not see them clearly. When they think you are unaware, they become more comfortable, more open, less guarded, and in that comfort they show more than they intend to. This is why your silence is powerful, because it allows truth to continue unfolding without interruption. It allows you to gather understanding without resistance. It allows you to move with certainty instead of assumption. And certainty is what protects your next step. Because once you act, once you move, once you decide, you want the decision to come from clarity, not emotion. From understanding, not reaction. From strength, not impulse. This is the discipline you are being called into now. Not just awareness, but control. Not just perception, but patience. Not just clarity, but composure. Because what comes next in your life will require you to move with precision. And precision is built in moments like this. Moments where you choose not to react. Moments where you choose to observe instead of engage. Moments where you trust that silence is not doing nothing. It is preparing everything. So hold your position. Do not rush. Do not reveal everything you know. Do not feel pressured to respond immediately. Because your silence right now is shaping your power for what comes next. And when you finally move, it will not be from confusion. It will be from clarity. Type "I move in silence" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated around your spirit. Now take a breath, because everything you have heard so far has been building toward this moment. Awareness hath been sharpened. Truth has been revealed. Your role has been defined. Your posture has been adjusted. But none of this would be complete without understanding one final, critical truth. You are not going through this alone. You are covered. Not in a symbolic way. Not in a distant, abstract sense. But in a real, active, present way that is surrounding you even now as you listen to these words. Because when Archangel Michael steps in with warning, he never does so without protection already in place. And this is what you must understand deeply. If you were truly vulnerable, you would not be receiving this message. If you were unguarded, you would not have been made aware. If you were exposed without covering, you would still be moving blindly through everything that has now been revealed to you. But you are not blind. You are aware. And awareness itself is protection. Because once you see clearly, you cannot be easily misled. Once you understand, you cannot be easily manipulated. Once you recognize patterns, you cannot be easily drawn back into them. This is the first layer of your protection, clarity. But it does not stop there. There is a presence around you that you cannot see, but you have felt. Moments where something guided you away from certain situations. Moments where you hesitated without knowing why. Moments where something told you to pause, to step back, to not engage, and later, you realized that decision protected you. That was not coincidence. That was covering. That was guidance moving ahead of you, adjusting your path before you even knew there was something to avoid. Archangel Michael stands in that space, not just as a messenger, but as a protector. Because protection does not always look like removing every challenge from your life. Sometimes, it looks like allowing you to see clearly enough to navigate through those challenges without being harmed by them. And that is exactly what is happening now. You are being positioned to move through this phase without losing yourself in it. Without being consumed by confusion. Without being pulled into reactions that would weaken your clarity. This is divine protection in motion. And it is important that you recognize it, not just as something external, but as something working through you. Because your instincts, your awareness, your ability to sense shifts, that is part of your protection. You are not being asked to ignore what you feel. You are being asked to trust it. Because that inner awareness is not random. It is aligned with the protection surrounding you. It is guiding you, alerting you, positioning you before things fully unfold. This is why certain things feel off before they become obvious. Why certain people feel different before their behavior clearly changes. Why certain environments feel uncomfortable before anything visible happens. That is protection speaking early, before situations fully develop, before patterns fully repeat, before anything has the chance to affect you deeply. And this is what you must lean into now. Not fear, not doubt, but trust it. Trust in what you feel. Trust in what has been revealed. Trust in the fact that you are not navigating this blindly. Because you are not. You are being guided. And guidance always comes with covering. But here is something else you must understand. Protection does not mean you will not face moments of discomfort. It does not mean you will not feel tension. It does not mean you will not encounter situations that challenge your awareness. What it means is that those moments will not overpower you. They will not derail you. They will not take you off your path unless you choose to ignore what you have been shown. Because protection works with awareness, not against it. If you ignore your awareness, you weaken your protection. If you trust your awareness, you strengthen it. And right now, you are being called to strengthen it. To walk with confidence, not because everything around you is perfect, but because you are prepared. Prepared to see clearly. Prepared to move intentionally. Prepared to respond wisely. And that preparation is your shield. It is what keeps you grounded when things feel uncertain. It is what allows you to move forward without hesitation. It is what ensures that no matter what unfolds around you, you remain stable. Because stability does not come from controlling your environment. It comes from being aligned within yourself. And that alignment is what divine protection is reinforcing right now. You are not exposed. You are not unguarded. You are not vulnerable in the way you may have once feared. You are positioned. Positioned with awareness. Positioned with clarity. Positioned with protection that is both around you and within you. And once you fully accept that, fear loses its hold. Because you understand that whatever is unfolding, you are already equipped to handle it. Not through force, not through control, but through awareness, alignment, and trust. This is your covering. This is your assurance. This is the confirmation that you are not alone in this process. And you never have been. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated around your life. Now this is the moment where everything comes together. Not as a conclusion, but as a command. Because what you have received is not just information. It is not just awareness. It is not just a message to reflect on and move past. This is a call to remain alert, a call to stay aligned, a call to be ready for what is unfolding next in your life. Because everything you have felt, everything you have sensed, everything you have begun to understand is leading to a point where your awareness must become your lifestyle, not just a moment. You cannot go back to being unaware after this. You cannot return to ignoring what your spirit has clearly shown you. You cannot continue moving the same way when you now see the difference between alignment and misalignment. This is where your transformation becomes real. Not in what you feel, but in how you move. Because staying alert is not about being tense or constantly watching others. It is about being present, being conscious of your environment, being aware of how energy shifts around you, being grounded enough to recognize when something aligns and when it does not, and staying aligned that is even deeper. Because alignment is not just about what feels right, It is about what is right for where you are going. It is about choosing your direction over your comfort. It is about maintaining your clarity even when situations try to pull you back into confusion. It is about trusting your awareness even when others do not understand it. And that requires strength, because alignment will sometimes feel like distance. It will feel like silence. It will feel like stepping back when everything around you expects you to step in. But that is the cost of clarity, and it is a cost you are now ready to carry. Because you understand what is at stake, your future. And this is why you must stay ready, not fearful of what is coming, but prepared for it. Prepared to respond with clarity instead of reaction. Prepared to move with intention instead of impulse. Prepared to trust yourself without needing constant confirmation from others. Because what is coming next in your life will not wait for you to become ready. It will meet you where you are, and your readiness will determine how you handle it. This is why this message came before that moment. So you are not caught off guard. So you are not confused when things begin to reveal themselves. So you are not pulled into reactions that take you off your path. You are being positioned ahead of time, and that positioning is your advantage. But only if you use it. Only if you stay aware. Only if you remain aligned. Only if you move with the understanding that your environment has shifted because you have shifted. And this is the final truth you must hold on to. You are not the same person you were before this message. Your awareness has expanded. Your perception has sharpened. Your understanding has deepened. And because of that, your responsibility has increased. Not as a burden, but as a power. The power to choose differently. The power to move wisely. The power to protect what is yours. The power to step fully into what you are becoming. Because everything you have experienced up to this point has been preparation. Preparation for this level of awareness. Preparation for this level of clarity. Preparation for this level of movement. And now that you are here, there is no going back. Only forward. Forward with clarity. Forward with strength. Forward with alignment that cannot be easily shaken. This is your moment to step into that fully. Not partially. Not hesitantly. But completely. Because what is ahead of you requires the version of you that is aware, aligned, and ready. And that version is already here. So stay alert. Stay aligned. Stay ready. Because your future is not something distant anymore. It is forming now. And you are standing at the edge of it. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated around your life. And as you stand at this edge of awakening, hear this clearly. Your response in this moment is not just personal. It is prophetic. Every seed you release into this mission becomes a spark of light igniting truth in someone else's darkness. When you give through the PayPal link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen, you are not supporting a video. You are advancing a divine assignment that is reaching souls who are desperate for clarity. The word speaks, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over." And this promise is alive over you right now. I feel this strongly. This is your moment to act. Not later, not when it's convenient, but now. Let your giving become a prophetic act that aligns you with the very message you have received. Release it in faith, and watch how heaven responds with increase, protection, and overflow in your life. Step into obedience now.